again, everyone. It's me, Madame Macabre, and welcome to another video. So for today's topic, we've got another sort of weird, kind of paranormally strange video. It sort of started being a theme with my face cam videos. So another topic that a lot of people seem to be interested in is things along the lines of prestidigitation, or in the case of today's video, clairvoyance, or more specifically, clairvoyant dreams. If you guys are really interested in this stuff, I could possibly do another future video breaking down the different types of like psychic stuff, categories and how they manifest and all that stuff. But as far as today's video goes, I figured since I have personally had experiences with premonition type dreams, I could share at least my personal experience with you, and it's just kind of an interesting story. So I may have actually touched on this, like, this channel's been around for a while, so I may have touched on this briefly in another video in the past, so if it sounds familiar to you, sorry, I can't for the life of me remember when it was, but it was a while ago if I said anything about it. But my own personal experience with this involves mostly dreams. I know some people, when they have like dreams that are like premonitions, it'll be regarding events and things about other people. For me, and we've got a cat invader. Hi, Papa. He's gonna join us. Wish I could have foresaw that. So for me, whenever I foresee things, it's only ever in direct relation to myself. So for me, it's only ever happened a couple times, and of these times, one in particular sticks to my memory the strongest. I mean, it may have happened more times than this, but it may have been small things that I didn't notice, whatever. Just, I have one story in mind that's really ooky spooky because of how accurate it was, and it happened when I was in about middle school and my grandparents on my mother's side were still alive. And my maternal grandparents actually, they owned a farm. So the front half of the property was actually some of like their yard, which was big old fields, and then the farmhouse, and then the back half of the property was where they had the barns and the pastures and all the livestock and animals and things. And then even farther back, they had a whole bunch of forest property that was just undeveloped. It had some wetlands in it. It was just a huge stretch of forest land that connected to even more forest land that was county owned and other people property. Needless to say, it was just a big old chunk of land. And for children, me and my cousins, it was a wonderland. We had a blast running around, especially in the forested areas. So the reason I'm telling you all about this farm property and my grandparents and all that is because it directly links into the really strange dream that I had. See, I used to spend a lot of time on that property when I was younger, running around playing with my cousins, and one night I remember having a very, very unusually vivid dream. I was there with my sister and my cousins, and we started out playing just on the front half of the farm property, and then we decided to go play in the woods, which, not unusual, we did that all the time. But for whatever reason in this dream, we decided to go way farther than we normally went. The property, like, we knew where my grandparents' property ended because there were little, like, markers and things, but it was so far into the forest that there wasn't really a proper fence. People just, knew where their property line was. Well, we decided we were gonna go past the property markers of Grandma and Grandpa's property, and we were gonna go even farther in and find some new areas to play, because one of our favorite things to do was to go in the forest and like find fallen sticks and things and build little lean-tos and shelters and stuff and just play out there. Well, in this dream, so we pass the property line and we keep going, and the forest gets thicker and thicker, like moving deeper into the heart of it. And then eventually, after we've gone on for quite a while, it starts to clear out a little bit again. And we can't really recognize where we are. We don't see any of the neighboring houses or, landmarks, things that we would recognize from the nearby neighbors. No, it was a new clearing that we were unfamiliar with. And ahead of us, it seemed to like turn into a really old, like neglected road. And up at the end of the road, we could see what looked like an old, neglected, dilapidated house. And of course, all us kids went running up because we were super interested. But near the front of the house, there was this big old cast iron gate, and I remember it so vividly in the stream. It was one of those big gates where it's got the intricate spirals and little shapes in it and like the little sharp spades and stuff at the top. But it was a very unique pattern that I haven't seen before, and I've never seen it anywhere else. Just this old, rusty, not well taken care of gate with a very interesting pattern. And we stopped at the gate and we looked to the house ahead, and it was really dilapidated. It looked like one of those, it's landlocked. It's like there's no way to get there from the outer roads. So this was an old house before all the roads and different things and boundaries were put in. This is old and had been abandoned for a long time. Now where it gets interesting is, once again in this dream, we get up to the fence and we look and we see this house, and my cousins are like, let's go in, let's go explore, look how cool, this is the perfect clubhouse and fort. And for whatever reason, in that dream, in that moment when they mentioned going into the house, I got the nastiest feeling. Like, it immediately went from a good fun dream to feeling like the worst nightmare I had ever had in my life. For whatever reason, just looking in that house and thinking about going in it, I got this sinking gut feeling and this fear for my life. It got so bad, I was so scared, I woke up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding, when you have a dream where you're falling and it jolts you awake, it was that sudden. Just thinking about going in that old dilapidated house had that intense effect on me, and I woke up like, okay, what the heck was that? I mean, sure, that was a really weird, kind of disturbing twist of the dream, but, I thought, what the heck? Okay, that was a weird dream. You don't generally think much more into that. So a couple days later that week, my family, as usual, went to go spend more time at my grandparents' property. And while my parents stayed at the front half of the farm visiting with my grandparents, I met up with my cousins, and we were just playing, having a blast that day. Playing at the front half of the farm for a while, and then sure enough, we decided we wanted to go play in the forest. Now, mind you, that dream I had, it was just a dream. It was, it was weird, but it was just a dream. Did not come to my mind. But I was like, okay, let's go play in the woods. Because again, not unusual. We played in the forest all the time when we were young. And so we go and play in the forest. We play up front for a while. There's a stream that cuts through. It's really beautiful clearing. And my cousins are like, I'm bored of this area. What do you say we go deeper into the forest today and look for a new place to build a fort? Now, mind you, at this point, I definitely had that dream peeking into my mind just a little bit, but again, not too heavily weighing on me at that point. And I agreed, yeah, that's fine. So we start heading back farther into the forest. We go and go and go and go, and then we're at the property line. And I'm thinking, okay, this is probably far enough, right? And they're like, no, let's go beyond the property line. Let's see, what's out there. We've never been there. Like, as long as we keep going in a straight line, we can get back, no problem. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll go with you guys. So we went farther into the forest. And this is where it started to get weird, because as we went farther and farther, and the forest got denser and denser, I started recognizing things from the dream. Like, certain landmarks, certain trees, certain things were just like in the dream, eerily similar, even though I had never been that far out in the forest before. But still, my cousins wanted to keep going. So we went, still no sign of the neighbors, nothing. Then we get to a forest clearing. At this point, I'm really starting to get a bit nervous, because this is feeling familiar, and I'm like, okay, wow, alright. It wasn't really panic mode until we saw that old neglected road leading up to an old dilapidated house ahead that I really started to be freaked out. I kid you not. It was the exact same house in my dream, down to the last little detail, the paint color, the condition, the shape of the roof, all the little windows, the grime in them, just all the little details were exactly the same. So eerie, but what really terrified me and made me stop in my tracks, because my cousins wanted to run up, was the old cast iron fence in front of it, with that really unusual spiral pattern, the sharp spades all rusty, and that strange fence pattern I had never seen before, exactly down to the last detail of that dream. And sure enough, just like in my dream, the first thing my cousins wanted to do was run inside because, wow, this would make such a great fort, let's go explore. I heard those words repeated just like in my dream, in the same tone of voice, everything. I just froze on the spot. And guess what? Your girl became the biggest stick in the mud of any group of child explorers ever. Because I sunk my heels in it and I refused to go in that house. Because let me tell you, upon seeing all these realizations and looking at that house and the idea of going in, just like in the dream, I got hit with the heaviest fear overload. An iron ball in my stomach just dropped. I felt like I was gonna be sick. I was feeling paler than usual, which is saying something. I was shivering. I felt like if I went into that house, something very bad would be waiting for me in there. It was really not a good feeling, and I refused to go in there, and I was like, nope, I'm going back to Grandma and Grandpa's. And they were getting kind of frustrated with me because they wanted to go in, and I pulled one of those, we're not supposed to go into abandoned properties, and if you do that, I'm going to tell Grandma and Grandpa. Did not make me popular with them for the remainder of the day, but I'd like to think as an adult that, I saved us all from a terrible fate. And I'm not ashamed of saying that I never, to this day, went back to that property, went in it or near it. I didn't look into it. It's a little weird because it's landlocked and abandoned looking, but I just let it go because you know what? I've seen enough horror movies. I know what happens when you hyper-focus on the weird, mysterious thing in the woods. You die. I don't know exactly what was with that house. I don't even know what was in it. But all I know is that was such a frightening experience, having such a realistic dream come out to be exactly what was happening in the waking world around me. It was pretty jarring, and honestly, I don't know what more is to it, but what I do know is that I'm pretty sure nothing good could have come from going into that house. I feel like getting a premonition that strongly is like warning you. Like, for all I know, it could have been unstable. Maybe we went in and it collapsed and we died. Maybe there was a rabid animal in there. Maybe there was an evil person in there. Maybe there was an aggressive spirit. Who knows? Whatever was in there, though, I strongly believe that I'm better off having not gone in. I'm better off having heeded the warning and stayed away. But yeah, that is my own personal experience with dream premonitions. I had a couple smaller ones other times, but those weren't really anything big enough worthy of talking about. This was the big boyo that really shook me up. I don't know if you guys might have had your own experiences like this, or you know a whole lot about this stuff and have a better interpretation of this dream than even I did. Feel free to share below if you think you do know better, because I'm honestly fascinated in hearing other people's takes on this, because I was speaking to friends about this premonition stuff the other day, and this all came flooding back to my head, and I haven't been able to really stop thinking about it. Like, mind you, I'm not gonna go look into that property. I'm not gonna look into that house. I'm gonna let it lie, because it served me well this long to just let it be. But it's curious. I'd be interested to see other people's takes on what it could potentially be if you know a whole lot about like dream premonitions or whatever. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that little kind of weird story time. It came to my mind and I'm like, they might enjoy that. That's a little bit weird. But that is all I have time for today, so I'm going to have to catch you all again another time with something else new and spooky. But remember, until next time, stay creepy.